So now we have created already yesterday project, and we have checked what is the folder structure and what about these files, lib folder, Android, PubSpec file, and you have understand. So now
Yes.
you have seen I have not provided any Flutter version here. So for managing Flutters, sometimes if you are working on the uh, multiple applications or multiple projects, and one project is using a different version of Flutter and other is using different version of Flutter, so that time every time you need to upgrade, downgrade the versions, correct? For managing versions, I use the FVM, Flutter version management system. So through that I manage, but you don't need to use that now. We will understand and we will learn that how can we set up that. So for now, we can just provide here Flutter version that you have already provided, but let's try. Okay. Where is that in the language Flutter? Okay, I've given it, but I have there maybe 3.38 also. Let me check it's have or not. Why it's not showing, but I have this here. I can show you. So I'm just checking which path I have or which version. So I can check here. I have FVM. There are number of versions of Flutters. You can see here I have 5.3 also, 3.01 and 339, right? For the
Yes.
stable branch. And so sometime some projects target this version 3.0.5 and some are latest, or still some are less than 3.01. So that's why I use this, and through this FVM it's very easy to manage my Flutter versions. So now I will give this path here 3.38. Okay, this one, and here I'll change this path 3.8. So now we will apply OK. So it will support here, or I use FPM. Through that also I can do. Sorry, KCast tool. Where is that? Yeah, Sidekick. So it's a Flutter pub getting command is running. Once it's done, we will run the applications. And before the start Flutter, I want to practice the Dart language first. So I want to ask you, means what you know about the Dart, or which concepts you know very well.
Actually, in Dart, I'm not very much expert. Like maybe Java or Python, or maybe little bit I can manage, but with Dart, I didn't practice doing anything with
Okay.
Dart except print.
Sorry.
Except the print command, I think.
Okay. Okay. FVM Flutter. Okay. So we will start first the Dart, and you know Java, so you are aware about the class and objects and their fields, methods, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yes.
Okay. So so we can start first the, because directly we start Flutter, it's not matter. Before starting, our concept should be clear regarding the Dart language. So I'll show you first. We can practice here also, or but I will here Dart pad. So we'll practice here. What is the class and all things. Yeah.
Yeah, Dart pad. Huh?
Yeah, Dart pad. So have you used this before?
Yeah, I used it when I was trying to learn, but I did not practice.
Okay. Yeah, you can practice here for the Dart. So we know that our application runs from the void main. Now here is the class and class name. Suppose then we can say here demo, and this is our class, correct? And what is the constructor?
Constructor is it's actually a method where you store variables. I think default variables.
Okay.
I mean the default variables with the default values.
Okay. And
But I remember
how object create?
what?
How can we create an object of this demo class?
By creating a new instance, by calling that in the from the main method.
Correct, write this.
So yeah, in Java we use a new. You write a new like demo, like new demo.
Okay, but in Dart we need to use new, or if we will not use, then fine.
As you mentioned yesterday, no, we don't need.
Yeah, so we don't need here new. So now we get the object of this demo, right?
Yeah.
But
Demo,
how this object actually generate? What happened?
what happened?
Yeah.
You mean this demo, how it is created?
Yeah, or how
will,
it create an object?
It will store, it will make reference in the memory, right?
Okay, and it's call actually constructor. If our class don't have a constructor, then we can't create a object of that class. Like
Exactly.
suppose then if we have a interface, okay, in Java, and here suppose then we have a mixin or any abstract class, right? So suppose then if I have I don't have any constructor now, right? Demo.
Yeah.
But by default, every class have a default constructor. So whenever you create a object, our by default constructor call. So suppose then here is a default constructor already that is not visible, but here is a default constructor. So I can write here default constructor, right? So it's called.
Yes.
So whenever a class doesn't have any constructor, it means it calling default constructor of the demo class. Okay. Now,
Yes.
if we have created a constructor, so constructor is a is like a method, but it's same name of the class, and it's written a class object. So it is a constructor. So constructor definition is it should be a same name of class.
Class name.
Yeah, class name. So it is a constructor, correct?
Yes.
Now here I can use a parameter. So I use here, suppose then one parameter is string name. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you can see here it's get a error.
Yes.
Why? Because we have default constructor already, but we override this by using a parameter constructor. So it is a parameter constructor. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
So whenever we override a default constructor, so that time we can't create an object through the default constructor. So that time we need call a parameter constructor. So I'll pass here a name, and name is a string. So I'll pass here a string value. So I pass Izam. Okay. So this is the way to create an object. Now, if suppose in my class have a constructor, so private, so that time we can't create an object of that class through the constructor. But
we can't, huh?
Yeah, we can't. Suppose in you know what is a private, public?
Yeah, a long time I didn't cross by, but I remember private. It is only accessible inside the class.
Okay, we will run that's our access specifiers. We will learn that it. So now we are learning here class only. So now we can create a, this is the parameter constructor, and now we can create a constructor with a different parameters. Suppose then this constructor have a one parameter. Now I'm using a second parameter that can be a roll number, I think, roll number. So these are the with the constructor with the two parameters. So I can pass here with the one. What is the issue? Can I use or not? The unnamed constructor is already defined. The name unnamed constructor. So one constructor I have already. Then what is the issue?
Yeah, you need, I think, to create a class, not a constructor, because already you have one.
Okay.
No. No, maybe you have to commit the first one and use the second one.
Yeah, that is good, but we can use a different constructors also, but not here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, with different parameters, functions we can use. Constructor is only one, right? So we can use a one constructor here. That is fine. Now comes the how can we create a variable here? So here we can create a variable like string name. Okay. And now we want to pass a value from your name, and that will assign a local variable. So now we have two things. Now we can assign this as a this dot name equal to name. Okay, why are you showing this error? Okay, it's saying I think final. We need to use final keyword here. No, I'm trying something different. All final value must be initialized, but name. Okay, I don't want this name. Then it is a required value. Now what is saying? None null value instance file name must be initialized.
Just
okay.
We can make the constructor without
right.
parameter.
So whenever I define a variable after 2.5 in Flutter, it's a null safety concepts. So whenever we define a variable, so that time we assign a value or initialize the variable, or we can use a late variable, or we can use as a nullable value. So it is a nullable value. After passing value, you can set that value on the get. Correct. So now we can print here, suppose then name $name, or
so why we put question mark after string?
Yeah. So why we mention here, suppose then I create it like this, right? So before before Flutter version 2.50, there was not a null safety concept. Do you know null safety?
Yeah, you mean equal none.
Yeah. So null safety is like in Java, we get a null variable errors. Sometimes variable is null and we are trying to value from that. So that's why. So now after Flutter 2.5, there is a one concept. Whenever you define a variable, you must be initialize the value. So if you initialize here some value like this, then this error will be go. Why? Because if suppose then are you using like this, right? And now you are trying to achieve this value from here, right? Correct. Suppose then I deny this, I commented this code and I remove this one. Okay, or now I remove this one. Okay, it will show error, but I will explain. So what it means, suppose then I'm trying to access this, then this time it will give the error because it can be a null value if it does not have the value in name. So what they say us, like you need to mention here, initialize the variable, or you can use a null safety variable. So it means this question marks means this name maybe have a value or it may be null. So whenever you are using this variable, you will get a warning. You need to check. You need to use a operator like one operator or question mark operator. So it's mean like if you are using a question mark operator, it means suppose the name is null. So you will use here on the here like because we are checking on the null. So question marks means suppose then null is name is null, then it will not give a error. It will just skip this expression. Okay. Or if it is a null and you want to execute this line of code, then you will use a this operator, right? So we will learn about it, right? So that's why in Kotlin and Dart also they have support null safety. So if you will try Flutter less than 2.5, then you can use like this also. It will not give a error. Okay. But if you use Flutter greater than 2.5, then it will give a error. You must be support the variable as a null safety. And we can learn ahead. You have a one variable also keyword late. So you can use late also. I'll explain in ahead what is the late variable, right? So you can check here. I remove the question mark from here and I use a late keyword, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So now this issue is this error also gone, right? So we'll learn what is a late keyword. I will copy paste it here. So I will explain you what is a late variable also. But for now, we will learn only this, right? So this is the one way of assigning value. Now I'll comment this and I don't need to write a more lengthy code because Dart is very concise coding, concise language, right? Concise means like whenever you write the 10 line codes in Java, but in Dart, same functionality, same code you can achieve in a 2 lines only, right? So we can use here only this operator and this. So it is the same way, right? So now you don't require this line code, correct? So you can remove it. Now you don't require open body, you can close here. So now your 3 line code is executed in only one line, right? Now, what is this keyword?
It's fine for class, I think. Mention to
Yeah, so actually this keyword represent your local variable, local class or local object. So your local object is a demo, correct? So this represent your local class. So whenever use this keyword before the variable or anything, it's represent that it's mean this name is a variable of the your local class demo, right? So this is one way. Now second, I will explain you. Suppose and I'll explain the constructor only. Now I want a optional parameter. Suppose and now what will happen? Suppose and I create a object here. So this is a constructor. Now we can use a different method, any method, right? So we can use here a set value method, and here I'll pass this dot name, same. So this is our method, and here I am passing the same this value, right? But it's giving the error. Why?
because no idea.
Yeah.
I think
So
because you used that variable before.
yeah, because we can use this variable, initialize variables only in constructor. So we'll see it later. Now comes here. Because why it's giving issue, you can understand, because whenever we call a method, so that time you can't assign this value here. You can use this like you will pass a string name, and here you can use this name equal to name. So now it should not give the issue, but it's giving issue. And yeah,
Remove the semicolon.
void, and here it's like okay. So now we can use, because your local variables can use only the like this keyword in the constructor, because it's represent your local class. But here we are passing a variable and we are assigning to other variable, right? So now here, suppose then I want, we can see here, right? Now I want to same constructor here, and I comment it, and this time I copy it here, comment it. Now I don't pass the value. So this time I get the issue. So it means whenever you want to create a object of demo, you must be pass a value name. So I want, it's a optional. So here comes the optional things. How can we make a parameter as a optional? So it means a optional parameter, correct? So now you can see I can use both. Now here, whenever you using optional parameter, it means you can pass it or not, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why that you ask me first question, why we are using question mark here, right? So I'm telling now reason why this null safety comes in the picture. Now I'm calling a constructor, demo is created a object. Now I am able to access the variable like name, but what will be the output now? Null, right?
Yes.
So now I'm using here like demo dot name. So it will give the error because you are getting a value null, and now on the string you are trying to implement their functions, like I want to check their length, right? So it will guide you that it will give the error because you are trying to access your null value, correct? So for avoiding that, you can use a question mark. So what it will do, it will not give the error, it will not crash
Close.
your application, right? So what will happen whenever your users using your applications, but sometime due to the null operator issue, your app crashed. So that's why null safety comes in the picture. Through that, your application will not crash, just this line skip skip this line will be skipped because it will get the error. This line will be skipped and this will be execute, and its output will be like name question mark null, right? But if we will not use the question mark, that time our code will be crashed here, right? So that's why Flutter supports null safety, and other languages also support. Kotlin also support, right? So that is the reason first. Now I'll remove this, and now we can use a optional parameter. So now whenever we use optional parameter, it's help us that what value we are passing. We have seen like first we directly pass the exam, right? Or
Yeah.
Anil. So sometime it's happened we don't know what we are passing the value. So here optional parameter we guide us or give the hint of that parameter name. So I'll use a name of that optional parameter, and now I can pass the, like suppose then Anil, or I can pass my channel name, it's Anil G. Okay. Okay. So whenever you are using this in other class, so you will get the idea. What is this value? This value is a name, correct? So this is the advantage of optional parameter. Now, if you are using an optional parameter, but you want that required, correct? Suppose then
Yeah.
I hide this and I enable this. So now this time I will remove this. So you can see here this error will remove, but you don't know what is this, it's an LG, what is it, we don't know, right? But we have optional parameter name, then we know it's anil is a name, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now we are here, this is a required value, we must pass a value. So it is a correct, but this is not optional. So I am using here optional and I want it a required. So here you can use a keyword required. Okay, so now we can use both things here, right? We will get the error here. Why? Because this value is required. So you must be pass this value. You can't give the null value. So you pass this value here also. Same here. This is the one, this is the demo second object, and here you can pass the ism, correct? Now you can use the second variable here, like int roll number. Same here you will get the issue here, you must be mention here is the null value, or you can pass a 0, initialize the value, it is also fine, right? But we will mention here as a null, we will use null operator only. Here we can mention null. Now this type roll number, it may be null, I don't want it as a required, so I can use it as a this dot roll number, right? So this time we didn't get any error here. Why? Because it is a optional parameter.
Optional.
If you want to pass, then you can pass here, no problem, right? So roll number. Okay, I think we are out of time, so we will rejoin again, right? So I can pass, it is an integer value, so we can pass 1 2. Correct. And here is a some format, so we can
Okay, let's recap better. So we have constructor, and the constructor contains the default parameters, variables, which for the class, and you can have only one constructor for the class. There is null. If you are going to use null value, you have to use like late or question mark. And if you want to pass null value inside the class, you have to use the curly brackets and type the like this name, semicolon, this 2 dot, then my name, for example, and we can use this keyword, and this keyword point to the class, and yeah.
And but I'll give us some advice. Don't use a late variable now, because it's have some drawback also using late variable. So avoid using late variable. I will explain later why I'm saying. Suppose then here use a late variable now. So this time late variable is fine, you can use. Why? Because whenever you want to access name, before that you have already set the value of name, because whenever you will try to access name, you need a object of demo, right? And whenever you will create a object of demo, that time you must be pass a name, right? So this value never will be empty, so that's why you can use late here. So late, when you can use late, whenever you are sure that before using name or before using a late variable, it must be assigned or it must be initialized. It must be initialized. Like suppose then you are using a late variable in your any class, and suppose then you use here late variable, late here in both, right? So now it will give the error, right? Why? Because whenever you will try to access roll number through the like this object, right? Demo object. So this time your app will be crash. Why? Because late variable, you can't check late variable it is a null or not, first thing. And you are trying to here access late variable, even you don't know it is a initialized or not. So so use late variable whenever you are sure that it must be initialized. So only that time you can use. So I can give an example, like you have already aware about our stateful visits or stateless, right? So in stateful visit, you can assign a late variable whenever you want initialize that variable in the init method, right? So what will happen whenever you call that stateful class? So it's automatically call the init method, right? Before the build method. And in init method, you are initialize that late variable. So it means it must be initialized. So only these scenarios you can use. But if you have some logical class, like we say that controller or other things, there you are using a late variable, and that late variable initialized whenever our data come from the server. So what will happen in this scenario, whenever you are using that late variable and that late variable, it is not initialized, so that time you will get the error. Okay, so
Yeah,
the starting you avoid use the late variable.
yeah, to be in the safe side.
Yeah, no, you can use it, or after using you will
If
get
you are
the
sure, if
you
you
will
are
get
sure it will
the
be initialized.
yeah, you will get the
Yes.
idea how it's give the issues. You can use late variable, but try to avoid in the project. For learning purpose you can use, because through that you will uh, get the ideas what is actually issues, why should not use, right? So we have learned here these things. Now comes in the picture like what we can use while in initialize the variables. So here we can use a final keyword also, final. But now why are we getting issue here? Can you explain? So just 1 minute.
Because
I want to show, I want to hide these issues. Just give me 1 minute. How can hide from here? Right. So now I'm using here final keyword, right? So now we get the issue here. Why are we getting?
because I'm just guessing actually. The final because final means you cannot change it, right?
Yes. So okay. So what is a final? Final is a keyword, and this value we can't change, and it's check while runtime. Okay, what is means runtime? Runtime means that it's not check whenever your code is compiled, right? Suppose then you are run the application. So whenever you run the application for your device, so that time if you will get the issues, so it's mean this is the compile time error, right? But
Yeah,
whenever you will get the issue runtime, so that is the runtime variables. So final is a runtime variable there.
will crash. Yeah, it will crash.
Yeah, so now first thing is this, first point. Second point about the final is that you can't change the value once assigned, right? So suppose
Yes.
then once you assign the value, or in once assign the some value to the initialized variable, after that you can't change that value. Suppose then so what it means, so suppose then I have something value in final, but I am trying to assign new value,
Yeah,
correct?
it is null. Yeah, it is assigned to null, and now you are trying to change null to something else, and that's why you are getting this.
Yes, but I want to change roll number, I can change. So I'll is int, so I can change this number, so I can say number. So now this time I don't want to use this keyword, right? Why? Because this keyword represent the local variable. So suppose then I use same variable name here and here. Now this time if I remove this keyword, it will give a error. Why? Because it's don't understand this this means roll number is a local variable or this is a parameter variable, right? So that's why we use this keyword. This keyword means like this is our local variable and this is our new variable. That's value comes through the parameter, correct? But
Yeah,
now if I have a different name, suppose then I have a number or not a same name, that time I don't require use the this keyword, because we know that whenever we select, it's notify that which is the this variable, it is the local variable, right? It's not identifying this parameter, right? So it's clearly
yeah,
understand. So this is the use. Now comes on the final. But we can use final value as a constructor. Why? Because we can assign the value while creating the object, and object when object is creating while compile time. So this is the final keyword. And when we use final keyword, suppose then you can use a final class also, because you can't reuse that class. Or suppose that your project have a some value or some static values that you don't want to change in the future through any classes or through any objects. So that time you can use a final keyword. Suppose then you have a one value or you have a name fix. Suppose then exam.
Like
And you,
by, like by
yeah, like
3.
pi. Yes, like pi. Got it right. So that is the final keyword. Now comes the static keyword. What is a static keyword, you know?
Static means accessible from within the same package.
Static and suppose then here is the value, or I can say that project name, and it is this. So it's mean static means you can access this value without creating an object, first thing. So like that.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Like Java.
Yeah, so like demo dot, and you will get one hint, right? Not other hint. Why? Because this is the static variable, first thing. Second, this static keyword is a compile time, right? So suppose then you are uh, trying to do wrong, it will give error compile time. Other thing, static value you can change. So I have suppose then I access, and now I want to assign other value. Suppose then Anil Sharma. So you can update this value, right? Now,
Yes.
now what will happen? Suppose then now I want to print here through. So I update this value, static value, through demo object, right? But
Yes.
now I am accessing project name through the other object like demo second object. So I create demo second object, and now I am trying to access project name, right? So I am using a different object to assign the value, and I'm accessing of that value through the different object, right?
Yeah.
What is the issue here? 1 minute. Yeah. Okay, I'm static getter cannot be accessed through the instance. Okay, I'm trying to access through the any other object, right? That's why. But it should not happen. So I can directly assign demo, right? Or we can access here this. Now, so whenever suppose then you change your value. So whenever you will get the latest update value. Suppose then I should get here, but don't not getting. Just 1 minute. Demo dot project name. I will not get because it is a instance. We can access through the only class name. Okay, it's okay. But in Java we can access by object also. Okay, that is the difference. Now suppose then this value you can update in a suppose then first screen of the application, and now you are trying to access the same value in the third screen, right? So you directly get this value through like that. So that is the main difference. Now Difference between static variable and final variable is the first one is that we can't change the value of final variable, but we can change the value of static, right? Second, we can, this static variable is accessible to all objects, like throughout application. So suppose then this value is now what we have changed, Anil Sharma. So throughout application, from any page or from any class, if you will access this value, static value, then you will get the same result like Anil Sharma. Correct. But whenever,
correct.
but whenever you are using final variable, so suppose then here you are passing the exam. So now if you will try to get the name dot name, demo dot name, so here your output will be exam, right?
Yes.
Exam. And in other class, if you want to try the name, then there will be different according the objects. So in different class, you create a object again for the same class demo. And this time, if you are trying to access the same variable here, same like name. So this time you will not get exam, you will get it's Anilji. It's Anilji, right? But you will, whenever you will try to access here in a class 1, then you will get same output Anil Sharma, right? And same if you will try to access here, then also you will get the same output. Why? Because it's a static, you are not creating a different object, and it's like a you have a simple value here, like suppose then I don't have drawing, but you have a common value and that accessible all objects. Okay, so that is the static and variable. And this is the all about static and final. Now this is the return type, void. So it's mean like this method is not returning anything, that's why we are using void. But in some case, suppose then you want to get the value, suppose then here you check get value, and this is the method. Now this time you want to return something, so here is the return type. So you want a value as a string, so you mention here a string. Now you mention here a string, that's why it's giving error. So you must return a string, so you can return a string like this, right? Or here you can return like name, but this time you are returning a nullable value, right? Nullable value. So that time, are you understanding, Eza?
Yes, yes, I'm trying to follow with you. I will listen until the end. So if I have questions, I will ask you.
Yeah, sure.
You
So
can continue.
yeah. So here you will check it's giving issue. Why it's giving issue? You are trying to get the value is string value, right? But you are returning a name which is not only string,
No.
it is the null type of string, right? So you can't get a string null type, right? So you
So
need to return as a mention here. So you are accessing the same type of data. Suppose then you are returning here a different type of data and you are getting a different type data. So that's why there's a giving issue, but you can handle it if you want only without null string, right? So you can check here if it is a like null, then you can return a string, or if it is not null, then you can string null. So that time you are not getting issue, right? Even you are not using a question mark, correct? So I will explain it both. So if I comment it and I get it, now this scenario you will get the error. This scenario you need to use same type of data because you are passing a data, or if you don't want it, then you can use this. So here is we are using a ternary operator, right? So we will learn it in the next class. So we'll not do it as a difficulty. So just remove it here, and we will just copy paste here. Yes, you can ask what you have doubts.
Yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through the video again and practice this one and write my comments. Try to distinguish between the keywords you have to explain. If I get issue in the next class, inshallah, I will discuss with you about. I will try to make one example.
Sure, sure.
I will try to
Sure.
make one
And
example.
yeah, and it is the very most important part in a Flutter.
Yes,
Sometimes
yes.
it's happen whenever you are using a any visits, right? And that visit is required some parameter, and that's parameter required a write a string of a nullable string, and you are passing a string type. So it's give a hint like it's required a nullable string and you are passing a string. So that time it's very important. And this is the basic final and static. So whenever you will give the interviews, they will ask it, and it's very useful while using an application. This one is also very basic. So that's why I didn't start directly Flutter. I started from the class. Because why? Because whenever we have just created an application, right? So this is also a class, we can say that, right? What is here?
Yes.
What is this? My app is a constructor, right? What is this?
Yeah.
Key and this optional parameter, right? We can pass
Yes.
or not. Now here is they are using a key of a nullable key, right? Why and why is
Yeah.
nullable key? If we will not pass a nullable key, then it will give a issue. Why it will give a issue? Because we are using a super keyword. So we will talk next class what is the super keyword, why we required here. We will learn about const and others type of data, right? Where const we will see in later, right?
Yes.
Why we are using const here, what is that? So we will learn all things. Now this is also a like class. So this is a parameter constructor. Here is a why they are using required. We have already learned what is required, correct? And here is other also
Yes.
thing. You can't write a means those variable are not optional. You can't write in the end. Like suppose then you write here string name, then it will give error. Why? Because optional things should be right in the end. If you want to write it, you can write it in the starting of, right? So it will not get the error. Correct. So we will learn in next video. Otherwise, all will be very complicated and you will be confused.
Yeah, little by little better.
No, it's okay.
Yes.
And I want to your feedback also
Yes.
about my explanation. You want to me explain slow or just take a one topic or two topic in a day, not a
Actually, this the class topic is a challenge actually by itself, because the central and or the base the important understanding for programming is the OBB, how to use a class and how to inherit and how to extend and how to use the keywords and pass variables, and when it is allowed, when it is not allowed. So these are the programming core actually. So yes, you did the good thing. You start from this part because really I'm really interested to digest this subject very well and be like become expert in that and can handle it easily while coding. So what I'm going to do, I will just try to try different samples, different examples, and try to show it to you next class. So we can, then you can evaluate my understanding, and if I have something like doubt or something to be clarified, then you can direct me to the right point.
Yeah, sure. Because we can start directly Flutter applications, but everything, if your basics clear, then you don't need any help. You can easily understand if your basics is clear.
Starting
So
Flutter applications without understanding Dart, like you are learning CSS without understanding HTML.
correct. Okay, exam. So it's all, and try, and whatever you have doubt, we will clear in the next class, or you can ask me anytime on WhatsApp.
Yeah, thank you, my friend. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay. Good
See
night.
you. We'll try to meet on Friday, probably.
Yeah. Sure.